3, 2. Welcome to the show, guys. Welcome to the process. Today we have a special interview with Mrs. Tiffany.
Yes, sir. How is
Welcome, welcome,
everybody?
welcome. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good, good. And welcome to the greatest co host in the world, Alessandra
Ah,
Nicholson.
yes,
Welcome,
yes.
welcome.
Very excited for today. Y'all don't know how hard we have been trying to get this interview. So
it's been
excited.
it's been a labor of love. Definitely, definitely. So, guys, just hold on 1 second. Just guys, so check out our YouTube channel, right? SterileMD on YouTube.com. You will see all our past shows, all our past videos, and you could like and subscribe to the channel, and also hit that notification bell so that you'll be notified as to all our new shows and new content. So, guys, without any further ado, let's get into our intro. Welcome, welcome. Tiffany, who's Tiffany? Who's Tiffany Darville? Tell me a little
Ooh.
bit about yourself and let the audience know what you're all about.
Well, my name is Tiffany Darville, and I've been a central processing professional for 5 years, and I'm certified in CRCST, CER, soon CHL.
Mm.
And I've been doing the field. My brother got me into the field. He was sick not too long ago, and he had a surgery and he got an infection. And it kind of something clicked in my mind. Okay, well, how did he get it? What happened? What's the process? And at that time, I didn't really know anything about the field in general. So when I got into the field, I actually got an understanding of the process, and especially in the surgical aspect, and the surgical community was so different. So when I got into it, I'm like, oh, so it's the Mayo stand and the back table, and it's this and it's that. So everything started to click to where it's like, okay, did the surgeon contaminate the instruments? Did the scrub tech do it? So I wanted to be that person to make a change to where everyone wouldn't have, on-site infections, so the quality of life would be better. So that's what actually got me into the field, and that's just a little bit about me.
Hmm.
Thank you for sharing that. I think it's such a powerful reason why you were able to find this field and jump into it. Because had you ever heard of sterile processing before your brother had surgery?
No, actually, because I just thought it was like a surgical team of just like nurses and a doctor. That's it. It wasn't no type of like, no one explained it to me. It was like, okay, he's having surgery and he's going to be done at this time. And that's it. So I just talked to the surgeon and the team. And then that was it. Like, no one introduced themselves or what they're doing or the process or what's going to happen. So all I thought it was just like two people. And
Right.
that's it.
Mm.
I always
Interesting.
find that interesting. Well, because we work behind the line now, right? So for us, it's every day. We understand it's anesthesia, it's a scrub tech, it's a nurse, it's a
Hmm.
surgeon, right? It's pre-op, it's post-op, it's all these other
Yes.
things. But from the outside coming in, there isn't really a lot that tells you what the true concert of education is that's going on behind the scenes and
Right.
what to look out for. What kind of questions to ask these people, if you even get to talk to some of these folks.
Yeah, I think at that time when we was having surgery, they was supposed to start at this time, they didn't, and we was wondering, well, why was it delayed? Or we honestly thought, God forbid something happened.
Something happens.
And it wasn't until I went and I said, hey, can I speak to someone? Can I
Mhm.
know, is he in recovery? Is he doing good on the anesthesia? What's going on? Because at that time I was just concerned for him. And
Right.
it's like I was just sitting there like, okay, we're gonna be done in 2 hours. It's 5 hours. And I'm like,
Mhm.
what's going
Wow.
on, like, and then I had to go, above and beyond to find someone to say, oh, it's okay. So that reassurance.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I got to find somebody first to to know, to calm my mom down and all that, So I think there was, my anxiety was a little high, but then I didn't know the process of how long it takes, and cases can be delayed and a lot of things can happen until I got into the field. But a person from the outside looking in don't know a thing.
That's something interesting that I don't know that we've ever talked about what it's like for the patients inside the waiting room, but I think that is such a valuable thing for us to be aware of, because we do impact that. Like, there's times where the OR is waiting for us, but we, but do we think about the fact that there's also a patient's family that's waiting for us?
Yeah.
True. So how were you feeling at that point in time? Like, what were your questions as a visitor, a guest to the facility? What were your questions to why is this taking so long? What was your thought? Was it was it really, was your mind spiraling as to this is really, really a bad thing because of the wait time, or you just had no idea what was going on?
I think what it is, well, because my brother was special needs, he has cerebral palsy. And I think because of, us not being reassured, like, is he okay? Is he being treated right? Did something happen? Did he tolerate anesthesia? I mean, these are questions that we did when we had the review with the whole team, but it was just not given to us like a conversation, like, hey, something happened, he's not tolerating it, or this,
So
that.
it's really the lack of follow-up, right?
They didn't tell us anything. It was just, oh, we're going to be done at this time, and then it wasn't. So until I saw the time go over, I initiated the conversation, because I was the voice for my mom, because my mom couldn't speak, because my mom was just concerned for her son. So I was the voice to say, hey, is there anything that you guys can tell me that I can reassure her, to tell her? And no one spoke to us. I told my mom what they told me. And my mom was a little bit upset, because she was like, well, I'm the parent,
like, wait a minute. I need to hear that from the professionals right now, what's going on with my son.
Right.
Wow.
So, but that's my I think with that situation, it was not a good feeling. It really wasn't. I wasn't reassured. We weren't comfortable knowing that this team was doing their best to make sure his surgery went well. We felt very uneasy. Very.
I feel like there's so much stuff that's valuable there, and especially from a leadership perspective, it just makes me want to tell folks, like, round on these areas, round on your operating suite, right? Don't put people in a box or in a room and just leave them there. Like, I know there's also now with the charts, there's a lot of electronic systems coming into play now in the patient waiting rooms, where they can actually see, okay, this person's in pre-op, this person's in the OR, this person's being moved to PACU, or whatever the case may be. But to your point, if I don't know what all of that is, then is this really comforting and educating me about the status of my loved one?
Well, I just feel like they just need to make it where it's just plain, because this is a regular everyday person. If you just tell me straightforward and make it plain and easy for me to understand, it would give me some type of comfort knowing, okay, they gave me something, so I'm just going to take that and I'm going to patiently wait. So it gives some type of comfort and understanding on what the process is. But when you don't say anything, okay, it makes us uneasy. We don't know. But then the family start to get aggressive, to be like, okay, well, we need to know something now. You know what I mean?
So I think I'm so excited you said that, because the one thing that was running through my mind was, are you really going to even be able to receive this information if I'm bringing it to you, at the 2-hour mark, when I know, oh, there's going to be a delay, and you're not as stressed? Because let's face it, you're already stressed, right? You were stressed before you got into that waiting room, just because this is surgery, right? So now I'm coming to you all these hours later, like, the likelihood of you being able to be calm and just relax and receive this information and think of the questions that I should be asking, all the while I'm sitting here like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's happening. Man, I'm glad for your mom that you were able to be there too.
Yes.
Sometimes we see patients in the waiting room, families in the waiting room, but it's just one other person, right? And they don't have somebody else that they can ask questions to, or because, like, I don't even know if I would feel comfortable to get up and leave the and leave the area. What if I miss something? Or
Right,
it's just
exactly.
so much stress.
Exactly.
Man. So I'm just curious now, was there any type of electronic component to your waiting room, or was it all just word of mouth, just kind of wait and see?
Now back then it was like a paper trail. So unless you actually went into the OR and spoke to the circulator nurse to kind of figure out are they closing? Are they using the sutures? Are they still in the body cavity? Like what's going on? So it's kind of like they'll look, oh, they're not finished. So that's the way it was back then. So the progression, thank God, got better. But back then it was kind of like, okay, it was word of mouth. Well, they're still doing this, but everything's okay. So it was kind of like that, to where it wasn't like, okay, well, they're suturing now and they're preparing him for recovery. So he should be out, such and such. So now it's digital. Well, if we're in the waiting room, we can see if it's red, yellow, or green. So the red would be still in surgery, the yellow would be processing, and then the green would be, okay, he's in recovery. That's the hospital I'm from.
That's
so
nice.
At least it gives someone some type of understanding, like, okay, he's in surgery, but then the yellow means, okay, they're finishing up and they're transporting to recovery. So it's giving them some type of visual comfort. And sometimes, with the flow of surgery, no one can come out and speak, but you got to tell the family something, because they don't know
something,
that.
right? Because that's
You
what
know
I
what
was
I
just
mean?
thinking. I'm like, we know that they're probably just really busy, but to the patient,
Right.
that's not acceptable for me to say, well, everybody's tied up in the room, so we can't give you an update right now.
Right, exactly.
So Tiffany, how is your brother doing right now from that specific surgery?
Well, that was years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I lost my brother before Christmas.
Oh, I'm
So
sorry.
yeah, so and he was 24, and because of his condition, the doctor said he wouldn't live past 8, and my brother was 24. So that was a blessing in my life. And I can honestly say, me being an advocate for my brother extended his life. And that's one of the reasons why I go so hard for central processing, because I feel like, what if I didn't say anything and he got an infection and his life was cut short? So I think about that every day, and every tray, and every time I see someone doing something that's not up to standards, I have to speak up, because I think of him. And that's one of the things that, I've got fussed out, I've got attacked. And I said, but at the end of the day, that's somebody's family and somebody's sister or brother or
It's
auntie or
just that
uncle.
simple, right? It's just that
So
simple.
I said, listen, I understand it's stressful, but remember, you can actually kill someone by the lack of knowledge and going above and beyond and making sure the sterility of that tray is on point. And I feel like God had me to do that for him, for me to be here to be an advocate for others, because we need to be the voice for them.
Absolutely. And thank God for
Definitely.
Yes, because that is the key. And I mean, it's the difference between, I think it's the central difference between a good tech and a bad tech.
Yes.
Some people say you don't have to love this to do this. I
Well,
struggle with that.
well, you know what? It's like, it's a difference between a profession and a job.
Yes.
Because when it's a profession, you pour into yourself. You pour into yourself, meaning you go and you go above and beyond. You try to get knowledge. You try to keep up with education. Some people be like, well, it's a job, let me clock in and clock out. And then at the end of the day, the patient get the bad end of the stick. And that's an issue, a constant issue, that won't change unless someone, be that person to be the first partaker. It's like, I can't change it, but I can make a dent. So that's the way I think
At
about
least affect my patients, the people that I can reach.
it. Yes.
So I have a question for both of you, because this is something that I've heard throughout my 14 years about how to get sterile processing techs more engaged like this. And one of the things that always comes up is, well, they just need to go to the OR and see cases. And that way they understand there's a person on the table and they put the seriousness into this. So I'm curious, because I know y'all both have different backgrounds. How do y'all feel about that? Do you think if a person doesn't already have that feeling about what they're doing, is me taking them to the OR something that could be beneficial?
Ladies first.
Okay. Well, first off, it's the mindset. If your mindset is not in central, you're not going to do it no matter what you get exposed to. So if you think about it, exposing them to the OR shows you the usage of the instrumentation in that specific surgery, depending on if it's ortho, if it's urology, ENT, that would be beneficial if the person's willing to accept the knowledge visually. But if the person mindset is not there to accept any knowledge, any growth, any progression, nothing's going to happen at all.
It's like trying to sink something into like a dry sponge. Like it's just not, it's not soaking it up. What do you think, Deannard? Can I take a tech to the OR, let them see a patient, and hope that changes their mindset?
So I have a different take on that altogether. So what you're really looking for is competence. I want a competent person, a competent technician. So whether they love it or not is kind of irrelevant because they're going home after 8 hours anyway. Mm-hmm. So I want someone who, whilst they're on their shift or whilst they're on the job, they're confident and proficient in what they're doing. So now we have to go into, based on that, we have to go into learning styles. You have your soft skills and your hard skills. You want to make sure they understand what's going on and they can actually put it into practice also. Yes, so then you could differentiate between those persons who are intellectually skilled and understand the situation. So those persons are usually your lead techs, your supervisors, because they understand when we have a wet load, when we have an issue with a tray, how to solve that problem. And then you have those persons who are excellent in dick and tam, but if they have an issue, they don't know what to do. Right. Or they could put 50 trays together, but when something goes wrong with a sterilizer, they have no idea how to navigate that situation. Right. So you have to look at a different level.
And the layers of that, right? Because it's not just fixing the machine that it's downstairs. There's, people I got to report out to. There's, biomed calls I need to play. So like you said, having that person that shows competence for their job, I think y'all hit the nail on the head. I always thought it was odd. I remember getting approached with that and I was confused. I'm like, it's surgery. Yeah, there's somebody in there. Mm-hmm. And as far as I can tell, me and that surgeon are going to get as close as anybody's going to get because my tray is going in and their hands are going in. That's enough for me to say, I want it to be clean. I want it to be sterile. I want it to be in working order. I don't need to feel as if, oh, that's my grandmother or that's my, person in order for me to say, I want that person to come in here and leave better than the way that they came in.
Yes.
Yeah, and then you have to look at standards too. What are your standards for your department, your technicians, your individuals? If you want to look at them like that, what is that person's standard of clean? Yeah. So, or standard of clean or sterile. So some people have lower standards than others. Some people will drop an instrument on the floor and just wipe it off and put it back in. Some persons would send the whole tray to Dick and Tam. So you have to look at that person's standards. Like what?
Yes, I am that person.
Okay, you're getting it. You're getting the whole kickback.
Yep. So you have to look at the standards.
And we really need that. Like we need people to positively reinforce that. Like the more techs that are willing to have that level of seriousness about it, the less I feel like it would be allowed to happen on the floor. Because people see that person, right, that drops that thing on the floor and puts some alcohol on it and put it back in the kit. They saw that. They didn't do that in a vacuum. But at the same time, nobody's stopping them.
I think with that situation, I've seen that several times. And I think most of the time when I ask them, well, why did you feel it's okay to put it back? Well, it's just one instrument, and I'm like, do you know what AME standards is? And they'd be like, some people never read it. Some people don't even know what it is. They just get the cert and that's it. And just like what Deannard said, do you have the educational part? Are you exposed to it? Are you absorbing it? Are you actually doing it? And I feel like most of the time, most of the techs are not knowledgeable of basic things that they're supposed to know. So when they get in a routine of something, it's normal. It becomes so normal to where, oh, it fell on the floor. Okay, I'm just going to grab it and put it in. And I'll be like, no. And then when they put it in the tray and they touch everything, okay, back to decon. Okay, now back to decon. And then when they ask me, I have to explain an AME. And then they was like, nah, I don't think so. I'll be like, okay, so let me pull out the AME standard so you would know.
I love what you just said, that you have to explain in AME. I like that concept of talking about it like it's its own language. Yes. Because it is. It's its own set of rules and regulations, standards or recommendations, right?
Yes.
And if you've never opened it up or you've never pulled out the PDF, this might be a little intense for you right now on the floor.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying to help you. So I'm trying to explain to you why the one instrument that touched all the other instruments that weren't contaminated, you got to go back to decon. And then when I take the time to explain it to them, they'd be like, oh, well, I didn't know. And I'd be like, okay, so let it go back to decon, let the whole process go back again, let it come back to prep and pack, and then you can start inspecting and assembling.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And let me expound on the AMI language aspect of it too. So simply opening AMI once a year or once in a blue and being able to read and translate. Because AMI will not tell you everything word for word as to what to do. You have to be able to understand the language to be able to put it into practice.
Right.
So you have to be able to, it's like the Bible. You have to read it to understand it and read it often.
Oh, I love that.
Because if you just pull up the Bible and you read a verse, like,
and you read a line,
what does that mean? So you basically have to get.
Gotta have a little AMI study session.
Right, exactly. You have to. If you pull one verse out of the Bible without context, you're gonna go wrong. Right. You have to have the context. You have to know why he walked on water. What happened? He didn't feel. He didn't just say, "Oh, it's a nice day. Let me go walk out on the water."
He ain't lying, boy.
So you have to have some context as to how to read it, because I've known persons reading AMI and have a totally different meaning for the same, piece of information.
That's
so
now, especially that we're talking about AMI, I have to ask, because I know, this is the process. So we clearly will do our own research. We clearly will do our own reading. But who told you guys about AMI first? Where did you learn about AMI?
So for me, when I first became a tech, I didn't have a mentor. So when I went searching, I found all the information on myself, all the TIRs, all the AMIs, the ARON, all of that by myself, because I felt like, okay, I'm new in the field. I don't know what I'm doing. So let me invest in myself. So I bought my own AMI book from the website, and which was a lot of money. But
it ain't no joke. That's a couple $100 right there.
Yeah. So I was like, you know what? Let me just go and research the agencies that's affiliated, with AMI. So then when I started doing research on it, I actually found it like myself, like, going through the resources, going to like, okay, what is associated with central processing? Whatever was affiliated with it, I absorbed it. I read it, I researched it, and I just got the material myself. I mean, it would have been nice to have a mentor, to kind of gird me up a little bit, because I was struggling. But I feel as if the struggle made me more appreciative of where I came from. And I feel like, me being alone a little bit, the issues, the mistakes, and at the end of the day, it's like, I know for a fact as concrete. So it's like, I know exactly what I'm doing because of the investment that I put in myself.
Sure. Great. Very nice.
Yes.
Where's my clapping effect? So my journey, let me give you a little background. So before I had my first job in Sterile Processing, I actually signed up for the ESHM conference out of my own pocket from my previous job. I said, well, if I'm going into this, I'm going to it all the way. I'm going to be all in. So I paid how much was that at the time? $325 or something like that. And then you had the flight, the airfare, the hotel, all that good stuff. So my first few months I went to, I believe it was the New Jersey chapter. I still wasn't certified yet. I got out of the class in August. I got an internship in September. And then during the internship, I went to the Mid-Atlantic conference. From the Mid-Atlantic conference, I heard all this AMI and all these other, I have no idea what they're talking about, because I'm just trying to figure out where I'm going to go in 2, 3, 4 years. So I actually came back. I got some, those are the days when they used to give you a thumb drive with the slides of the whole, the whole conference.
Bring that back.
Right? You had your little 8 gigabyte thumb drive. Nowadays you have 64, 128. So yeah, little 8 gigabyte thumb drive. I took that back. I was so pumped. I went back to my facility where I did my internship, and I did a whole presentation for them on what I learned, and I'm like, oh, this is this, this is that. I wasn't even working yet, but I was so excited about it. I said, you know what? I told the manager, you know what? That was a good seminar, and I think I learned some stuff. I want to, share it with, So I bought a little projector, and I had a little screen, and I did a little slideshow of some of the slides and stuff. And then my next seminar was, I believe, Isham, or it was CASP. It was a Pennsylvania conference seminar with Rick Schultz.
Yeah.
And Rick Schultz is a big lean guy. He's all about ASQ and all about Amy. So that's when I first heard about ASQ and Amy and all that good stuff.
So
I'm like,
what's ASQ? I'm lost.
Sorry. My
What's
bad.
ASQ?
It's American Society for Quality. So they have certifications based on quality, ISO 9000, etc., etc. Rick Schultz is really good at that. He has all the certifications on quality certifications. So that's when I learned about that, and that kind of piqued my curiosity. I was like, why is this guy talking about? And everybody was like, what does that do with sterile processing? And I was like, this guy has 10 certifications after his name. I'm like, he's onto something because I want to get some of those certifications. So I started looking into Amy, I started looking into ASQ, and was this ISO 9000 and all this other stuff, because he was talking in a whole different language, and I was like, I want to be able to understand what he's saying. So then I said, I went back to my department and asked about, like, they're talking about Amy, like, where's the Amy? Where's the like, why aren't we talking about Amy? So then I couldn't find enough information, so I just started doing my own little research online, etc., etc., and then networking for the individuals. And then when I got to the big seminar in I forget what that was, Kentucky back then, I think. I started networking with folks. I was a little leech. Everybody I knew that had, some clout, I would just stick to them and listen to their conversations. And then back then, the thing that was coming out was about endoscopes. I had no idea what that was. So there were issues with endoscopes. I'm like, what's endoscope? And then you had
rabbit hole.
then around that time, Sharon Green Golden came out with that I don't know, it's NBC or CBS news piece on endoscopes and the issues. So that's what was around that time. I was kind of learning and getting into little things, and then I kind of grabbed information from those experts that were in the field, guys like Warren Nist. I used to hang around him a lot back in the day, just to hear things. And I had no idea what he was talking about, but I'll grab 2 or 3 adjectives.
Yeah, let's absorb it.
Right?
Yeah,
and now look at you.
And I'll repeat those and be like, "Oh, he's so smart." I'm like, I have no idea what I just said. I just stole that.
I think that's so valuable, though, to say and to own, because I sometimes I wonder, as we see our mentors, or the people that are just out here and kind of doing this, and people that we look up to in the field, like, you don't want to separate their humanity from what's going on, right? These are people. They got families. They had to learn this, and they didn't just come out the womb spouting out ASQ, right? So if they can learn it, then so can we. And I think it's good that we have so many more platforms that are making it their business to educate folks, but also there is nothing that's going to replace that personal drive, right? To go get that information and find out what it is that you need to know. And you don't have to know what you don't know in order to seek information.
True. I like that. I'll drop a bomb on that.
I'm a bomb that.
Oh man.
No, so I'm curious now, because you had this experience with your brother where, okay, now I know something about surgery. And you had this infection episode come up that said, okay, now I know even more, because I need to know where this came from. So you get into the SPD field, and what has that been like for you now that you're on the other side of the red line?
It's been an experience, because you're on the other side giving a service to a person who is incapable of, they're in a sickly state.
Yeah.
And I feel I want to do them a due service. That's the way I look at it. It's where, I want to give them the best service I can and the best care. And let's just say if it wasn't like, my family member, it's like, this is a human being. I got to treat them with respect. At the end of the day, they're sick. Them, you don't know their mindset. You don't know what they've been through, what they've been struggling with,
Right.
getting this procedure done. So let me do a diligent due service to them. And I feel being on the other side of Central, it's a humbling experience, and yet it's a struggle because you have a lot of personalities. Everybody want to be your manager. Everybody want to be a director. And I just feel as if, it's going to always be a division because no one wants to work cohesively together to get work done, and at the end of the day, the patient is the main priority. Not saying that, you're not considerate of the person who's stressed out or the person who's going through issues in the department,
Right.
but, let's work together, meaning, hey, let me help you. You're going through something, let's talk about it. Let's find a way to make the process a little bit more easier where the patient doesn't suffer. And I feel me being on the other side has taught me patience and temperance and understanding, because there's a lot of people who's giving service who is stressed. They're stretched so thin, they have a lot of workload, and yet, sometimes certain trays or certain instrumentation gets slipped through the crack. And at the end of the day, they don't mean it, but it's just the fact of no one taking the time to say, hey, are you okay? Do you need a break? Do you need any help? And actually going to the human side of us central processing technicians. Yes, we're technicians, we're professionals, but we're humans too. So me being on the other side has actually let me be more exposed to the stress that people are under giving service to a person who is in the OR.
Yeah.
So that's like from my point of view and me being on the other side. So I understand now.
It's so valuable. It's interesting because I feel like, especially now that we're in the pandemic and healthcare has, it's healthcare heroes now, right?
Yes.
And it's become such a glorified thing. But we've been in the background for a long time.
No. We've been on the front line for a long time.
On the front line for a long time prior to this. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's important to remember that these are people, they are not robots. And I tell folks all the time, listen, inside the hospital is not different than outside the hospital. These aren't special snowflakes that just woke up one day and decided that they were going to be angels of healthcare. These same type of people you work with at your job, it's the same type of people we work with inside the hospital, right? So there's gossip, there's backstabbing, there's hoarding information. There's also, people being super supportive, helpful, helping you on your breaks, going above and beyond. Like, we have all of it back here.
It's a mixture.
It's a mixture. Yep. Just like any other job, you have the positives and the negatives.
Yes. And you have to work around that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you still have to produce trays. You still have to keep the flow going. The flow doesn't stop because the patient is at risk. So it's kind of like whatever we could do to keep the flow going and help people as we go. I feel like that's my goal. The patient still gets a sterile tray and they get their procedure, and I'm helping an actual central processing tech that's breaking down because they're under so much stress. So if I can get the two of those to work together and the process keep going, I feel like that's a win for me.
Yeah. And that's why, guys, we need to definitely encourage more platforms to come out, because when you leave work, you can't go home and say, honey, that biological didn't change and had a recalled load, and like, what you mean? You
definitely didn't corner a couple people before.
So like, and then that leads to the frustration of being in the field too, because you can only communicate really to those who understand within the field.
Yes.
So having more avenues to express yourself within this field, I think, will definitely help ease some of the stress. You could post something and you have 10 people that understand exactly what you mean, versus you talking to somebody and they're like, "What you mean? She did what? So is that bad or is that good?" You know what I mean?
Like, looking at you like they're still going.
Like, what?
2 hours later.
Yeah, right. So one of the things I definitely want to talk about is
Head on over to the
liking and
YouTube.
subscribing to our YouTube channel. And
Yes.
guys, hit that notification bell so that you could be notified when we have a new show popping up like this one, or we have any nice, interesting content. Yep, somewhere around
Wherever
Man,
it is,
that
down
would be fun.
below.
So
right?
guys, yeah, so I think guys, this is a platform I believe that helps people, like, it puts a smile on your face to know somebody is going through the same situation you're going through, or we're able to give you a little information to actually expound on what you already know within the field, or just to
Yes.
validate what you already know, and somebody else that, oh yes,
Man,
I'm right on that, because I
yes.
experience it all the time.
That validation can be so powerful, especially like you said, when people just don't know what you do. And so you're trying to explain the situation and they're like, what did you say?
It's
Hmm.
just, it's just,
So
it's,
why is that IUSS number a problem? Say that again. IU what?
The IU thing, yeah, yeah, that's
IFU, what?
Why
What?
what?
yeah.
Man, it was
Hmm.
definitely, I can't wait till the weather gets a little bit warmer again, because it was one of the things I enjoyed about the summer was having that process walk on the Saturdays,
Hmm.
where it was just an
Mhm.
open forum. We didn't have to talk about SPD, but we could also talk about whatever we wanted. And like you would see people coming in like asking questions about the field, like I don't know what this is, but I heard I can come here and I can talk, or
Yeah.
get, getting career
Hmm.
advice, networking with people. Like I met so many people over the summer. It was just wild. So yeah,
Yeah.
these type of
Hmm.
platforms are great, and nobody nobody's asking for it, right? So people are just going out of their way to create these things. And
Yes.
that's actually how Tiffany got on my radar, was
Yes.
because we were on LinkedIn and I see this person that's creating their own content, and they're like updating people. They're telling people like there's more content coming. Like I'm going to educate you, right, on her own. And so I just thought that was incredible. And I know over the years picked up a lot, as far as like people paying attention to you. But like, what has that been like for you?
Well, I'm actually kind of shocked because it's a normal thing for me because I'm really big on education because I feel like education is the foundation to stand on. So I feel as if the more you're educated, it's a difference with holding the education in and not sharing it with people who lack it. And I feel as if the platform that's given to me, it's like, okay, let me just help those, who are maybe struggling, maybe don't understand, or maybe they're afraid to get help wherever they're located.
Right.
I had two potential people reach out to me, and they said, I don't know what I'm going to do. I take my exam soon. I was like, okay, don't worry, we're going to get a study regimen, we're going to get it together. I did a couple Zooms with them. The two of them passed their exam. One is from Pakistan and one is from the
Ooh.
US. And I didn't know I was going to be hit international. I
Right.
just didn't know. I just did
Talk
it
about
was
reach.
normal. And both of them got a job. One got a job in the U.S. and one got a job in Pakistan.
It's powerful.
And they said, we're so thankful for you helping us, because they were like, well, people were busy. They didn't want to help us. They didn't want to share the knowledge. And I said, well, if we're all going to be in the same field, why not help? I want you to be the best you can be because you want to get into
Yes.
this field for a reason. So let me help you. Let me pour into you, because if I see the potential, I'm going to pour into you and pull out the best in you.
Come
And I feel
on.
like most people don't do that. They be like, I know my stuff, I do this and that, but what if this person wants their best of themselves, and you
Hmm.
don't help them pull it out? So how do you know their potential?
How do you know?
So that's where I started when it comes to like education, and even like basic things like, hey, did you hear that they have amendments in Amy? Or hey, let's have a discussion about the wording. Let's have a word about the phrasing. Let's have a word about, did you hear about the IFUs for this? Or they changed this. So when you have those discussions, you get different points of views, and then you have a community that can relate as one collectively and be like, well, she understand, or she understand, this, that, next, and the other. So I'm noticing that I've reached very far. I've reached to England, I've reached to Pakistan, I've reached to different areas to where people
Come
message me and say, can
on.
you help me? I'm like, okay. It was a shock to me. I didn't know. But there's like, we really enjoy your content because it's helping us correct what we're doing wrong. And they didn't know, they thought it was right. And it was like, oh, I did this wrong. I
Man,
have to go back. I have to, kind of
Hmm.
correct, what I'm doing wrong. And thank you for helping me.
thank you.
And that means a lot, just saying thank you. I don't even want
Yes.
anything in return. It's the gratification knowing that this person wants to do better, and they want to do better in the profession, not just a job.
Yeah. Yes. Powerful, powerful, powerful. Because who knows how many patients, how many families are being uplifted because of that. I mean, just even from the standpoint of getting a job, like for a lot of people, getting a job in sterile processing is a life changing experience. It's making more money than they made in a lot of their jobs before, or they have access to benefits that they've never had before. So I mean, you talking about lifting people up. That's amazing.
That means a lot, especially with mental health, because you have people who been in the field for so long, their mental health is already broken because of so many people have fussed them out or accused them of something they didn't do, or the overwhelming of cases, the volume, or just running them down to where they never took the time to ask how that person is doing. So that's why I always take a little moment and say, hey, are you okay? You good? You need me to help take some type of load off of you, because mental health is really missed, especially in Central. I understand, nurses, doctors, scrub techs, anesthesia team, everyone is under a lot of mental stress. But when it comes to central processing as a whole, mental instability is missed. It's kind of like, okay, I need to do this straight, and that's it. It's like, well,
So
like,
why do you think that is? Why do you think that burnout within the SPD area is so overlooked compared to burnout in the healthcare space or burnout in the nursing space?
because we're not valued. You don't need me until you need me. And at the end of the day, it's kind of like I'm still a human too, just like that nurse, just like that scrub tech, just like me in central processing. So it doesn't make me any different than any one of those. You need all of us together. One person needs the other person to function.
Right.
And if you treat me as if I'm an object and not an actual person who has the expertise in this field, because you don't know what you're doing, you can be like, oh, we'll turn this tray over 30 minutes. No, that's 3 hours. You want me to explain it to you? I will. And then that puts a lot of stress mentally, because you're being harassed by people who don't understand the stress you're under to make sure the sterility of the tray is there, the potential of the tray, the process, the decon, making sure that you're turning over that tray for the next case. That's stressful enough. What if somebody skips something in decon? What if an instrument is missing? What if it's thrown away? What if a critical item is missing? What if a supercut scissor is not sharp? So we're dealing with all that mental stress for the patient, and you like, well, we need the tray, but we don't care. We don't care how you feel.
Right.
So that's often, listen, after a while, you be like, I don't need this. I'm going to just leave the field. And at the end of the day, there's some good techs that leave because of mental health, or because of the way they're treated, or the way people just feel like, well, you're not important. You're a dishwasher. I've been told that. I'm like, and I'm good at it. Meaning I'm going to boast in it, because at the end of the day, I want you to come in here and do the whole process and see if you survive. I wanted to see that.
And I wish it didn't take all that.
It's like, okay, I'm sorry, we need you. Oh, so now you're okay. I'll take it. So how can I help?
How can I help, Brian? Now we're right back to how can I help you? I don't think I ever thought about it as a fatigue, but you're absolutely right. Like when you have to explain something that is basic to you because it's just the basic functions of your job to someone that's frustrated about your process, right? So it's just like we were talking about earlier with the in the patient waiting room. The likelihood of me being able to soak this information up right now, probably slim to none, because I want my tray now, and you're trying to tell me about washer times and sterilizer times, and I don't know what you're talking about. I need my tray.
Don't forget the drying time and the cooling time too. Don't forget
baby. That. Woo! But it is. It's fatiguing to you mentally to have to navigate that science, navigate this customer service for my, my end user, and navigate this customer service for my patient.
That you just said a mouthful, and I don't think people realize that we have to provide customer service, because some people have gotten so lax and chill. Like, I'm around my homegirl and my homeboy, I'm gonna talk the way I want to talk, or I'm gonna converse the way I want to. No, you still have to talk in a professional manner, and you still have to provide customer service. If a scrub tech coming and they have an emergency, provide customer service. Now, I don't agree with the scrub tech or the nurse coming at you, talking to you a certain type of way. And I understand it's an emergency, but your mannerism shows your character. So if you're going to talk to me a certain type of way, I can't help you because I'm not going to respond to you cursing at me, being belligerent, being aggressive. And I feel like it has to be a mutual two-way street. Help me, help you. Respect me, I respect you. But I think because of central processing being so bottom of the barrel job and not a profession, it's like when we say our voice, we're not even considered. We're not even, talked to in the right way until something go bad and then they need us. That's when they talk to us with respect, and it shouldn't be that way at all.
No, it shouldn't be that way at all.
And I think there's a double standard too in terms of the communication, based on the perception of the profession versus a nurse or a scrub tech or a doctor.
Yes.
Like if you, and then you have to look at the mental health side. If you put in multiple trays together with hundreds of instruments, your stress level is probably going to be higher, or at a level
right, and the
where
phone is ringing and the
phone,
alarm is
right,
going off.
exactly.
Listen,
And that's not taken into consideration when a nurse comes down and say, "Hey, I want this tray." They're looking at that one item. You're looking at multiple instruments and the entire process. So I think that that's something that's lost in the communication aspect.
Man, hopefully the more, we say it all the time, but like the more these platforms come up, the more conversations we have, the less that becomes such a prevalent part of our career path. Because I would love to get to a day in our career where it's not just accepted that SPD is the bottom of the barrel of this power chain, and we get lifted up to where we really need to be, which is a peer amongst our peers. You said earlier, you can't do this without anesthesia, can't do this without a scrub tech, can't do this without a circulating nurse, can't do this without a surgeon. You can't do this without a sterile processing tech. And we all have to respect each other's science in order for this to really work, right?
Yeah, you forget. Oh, sorry. Continue.
No, you're good. I was gonna say, if you don't know what we do, you don't respect what we do. And that goes specifically for Central, because if I have to sit and explain to you why you want a tray in 30 minutes and I'm telling you, well, it's a 3-hour turnover time, and then you want to be petty with me, okay, I'm gonna be petty with you and I'm gonna tell you the AME standards and I'm gonna tell you the whole process. So while I'm in the middle of saying that, you cut me off. Okay, so 3 hours? You want to confirm? Okay, that's what we're gonna do. So when you don't know what we do, you don't care to know the process and what we do and why it's important, because some people feel that their job is I wouldn't say inferior, their job is better than yours, because you don't know what we do to make sure you have that sterile tray. And that's one of the reasons why we're at the bottom, how I feel we're at the bottom, because most people put their job higher than ours. Because I've even had a scrub tech was like, well, you're a dishwasher. I'm like, okay, but you still need me to give you that tray though. So okay, cool, no problem. So it doesn't make any sense to put you higher than me, and we all got to work together. It's it doesn't make any sense to me.
All got to work together.
Yep, we still got to work together, and we're forgetting two key professions within the facility. We can't forget when that patient is in a room, they need dietary.
Oh yes.
And they need EVS.
EVS.
So those guys are very important. I've heard complaints, rooms not clean, floors dirty. Like your hospital or your facility would be a mess if it wasn't for EVS. Right? And your patients wouldn't have that warm breakfast with that French toast, eggs, and that banana in the morning.
That great hospital cuisine.
yeah, exactly. So like,
but that is so true, because we do get hyper focused on our lane, right? But healthcare, I feel like, is one of those places where it should become very obvious to you this is cooperative experience. I mean, come on, we still not talking about materials management coming in here, stocking this room, right? Like, or even our partners that don't do patient care, they're equally as valuable. We need finance to be in here making sure that the money's coming through and the orders is going to be coming and the bills are going to be paid, right? Like, it's not a one-man job if you're inside a hospital.
Yeah, it's so many layers.
And shout outs to our EVS and dietary folks who come through and become cell processing techs.
Heck yeah. I mean, how many of them had to turn around and teach us about UV this past year or 2 years, right? Never had to deal with it before, but I had to lean very heavily on my EVS partners to say, what is this? And how do I use it? And who do I call?
Where do I put it? And how long? And what's
where's the
contact time?
And I will say, man, they were on it. Like, like Deannard said, go back, check some of our old shows. We had an EVS director on with us named Ed. And I learned so much about what it takes for him to do his job. It was insane. Stuff that I just didn't think about. Like, we think about EVS as a service to us, but there are things that we can do to make their jobs easier. And it's like, do we sit around and think about that? How we impact other people, or whether or not we're slowing other folks down, or we're causing issues in their area? Are we disposing of things properly, keeping them safe? Come on.
And you want to talk about mental health? Imagine in EVS the stress you're under to get a room clean while the patient is there, or somebody threw up, or something was missing in the room. Imagine the mental stress.
But this makes me think about the conversation about quotas. I'm curious what you guys' thoughts are. So, every so often we hear that certain managers want to put quotas on your product. So maybe you got to put out 12 trays a day, or, you have to have some little productivity metric. And I think about this with EVS because, especially in the OR, they're timed. They have a certain amount of time that they have to get that room turned over and ready for the next patient. So do you feel like that's reasonable? Like, is it something to where I can come to an SPD tech and say, look, I need this many kits in this time frame, or you ain't really doing your job?
Well, that's an easy answer. Me being an ex-EVS worker, we only had 45 minutes for a whole room, and if it's a terminal room, we had an hour. And this was way back in the day, like 2015.
Right, because I'm like, now turnover times are like 20 minutes.
20 minutes. And I'm all about quality over quantity, because you can miss something critical in the tray, bioburden, a critical item, a scissor. I just feel as if rushing doesn't have the potential in a tray. I feel as if you take your time and make sure, like for instance, you have to check the ratchets, the lockbox, lubricate, and make sure like the sterility of that tray and the functionality of that tray is on point. Because you can rush and then have a hemostat that's stuck, but you just turn over the trays. So
if there's such a thing as too fast.
Too fast, and the tray just look crazy. You ain't even put the forceps in the sleeve. You just threw it in there. You got one indicator here. You missed the other one there. It's just a mess. So I feel as if, for the sake of the process and the sake of the patient, I feel like it shouldn't be. But remember, the way hospitals function, I don't know how hospital functions about turnover times and how many surgeries and the increase. I just feel like that's something that should be looked at, because at the end of the day, okay, you have to look at, well, how many infections happen from this, how many people have died from this, how many return infections from surgery has this happened because of fast turnover and fast assembly with instrumentation being assembled or sterilized. And at the end of the day, it's people who I've seen rush, they miss filters and the tray ain't sterile, or they're missing something, and then they have to go right back. So if you took the extra
I remember doing that with the IUSS tray, and I was rushing, and I didn't get the lock on. And I think I had it on one side, but didn't get it on the other. And this is a turnover tray, so there's no time for me to reprocess this again. And having to make that call, like, I am so sorry. I was just going too fast. That's the bottom line. I was just going too fast.
My bad. I'm sorry. I meant well. My bad.
Right. And now here we are with another 30 minutes on the clock. I mean, it's wild.
Yeah, that's why you have to have those cooked locks to switch that stuff out.
Never.
Never. You gotta have a couple cooked locks in the drawer somewhere, right?
Yeah, you bet not. I bet not. The process police might pull up on you.
Right.
Somebody go and be like, "What's this?"
Yeah. I don't know how that go.
What is the meaning of this?
That's not on our shift. I don't know who did that.
And look, just for anybody watching, just understand we mean this from the bottom of our hearts. There is absolutely no reason and no justification for you cooking locks or indicators that are not inside of a tray. Don't do it.
Don't do it, guys. Do not do it. Okay.
Don't let nobody tell you it's okay.
No. So from an aspect of productivity, so I think the only departments, the what would validate a department asking setting a baseline for productivity, it should be based on the competency level or the level of education they provide or competence they provide to each technician. So now if you know you have a thorough education program within your department, not just Sam, who's really smart teaching everybody else. If you know you have a comprehensive program that gets everyone at the same level, at the same base level, that would promote having, hey, you need 10 trays per shift or you need 4 trays per an hour. Now, if you know, you could divide it by service or you could divide it by experience, however you want to equate that. But you definitely need to have some backbone on that to understand that your technician is at a certain level, and that's what we expect. So you can't expect somebody in there for 6 months having them at the same requirements for somebody that's been there 20 years.
Oh, yes.
So you definitely need to evaluate that on the level of competency of every person individually.
And I feel like that's where leadership competency comes into play too, because if as a leader, this isn't what you do, like it's not your background, it's going to be harder for you to really make educated guesses about, okay, I can come through there as a tech and go, okay, it should not take her 60 minutes to do a major tray. Something's wrong here, right? And not that it can't happen, that we could think of different scenarios where it could happen, right? But if I'm seeing that on a regular basis, I know as a tech 2 manager that we can have a conversation about that you can pick up that speed, versus me coming through and I don't know anything about what it takes to do a tray. And I'm going, oh, that cardiac set with 150 instruments on it that you don't know by verbatim. Yeah, you should be moving faster because I need that kit.
And then I want to say, you have to understand, and then that's why the show is named, you have to understand the process. All right. So if you understand the process for assembling a tray within that specific department, because your extra instrument cabinet could be around the corner down the hall, just to get a Adson, right?
Come on, let's talk about those steps.
So you have to definitely put that in the equation when you're doing a certain trade.
Man,
so now,
have you guys ever done that lean mapping where they show you all of the footsteps that it takes to do a certain?
Yes.
SPD is wild. You really will walk, 5,000, 10,000, 15,000 steps in a day in your department.
And then what if you're missing that pituitary that there's a special draw down in the corner on the side that you heated last year, and you're going to get that because you can't put that tray up without that. So you're looking for that special instrument for like 20 minutes. And then you took 40 minutes to do that tray. Yes, because there's only one extra one in the building.
Oh, listen, come on. It can happen. I've been there so many times, and the thing is that so when I'll be like, hey, can we order an extra one? Because there's only one left. Well, I have to go to materials and see what the budget is. Well, 2 trays are down. Just
exactly.
So you know.
Just so you know.
Exactly.
And then they come back and say, do we have enough? I just said the 2 trays are down.
Hey, man.
Because we don't have it. But but the thing is that what I try to do is I try to find a solution. So let's just say we have the one instrument, right? I'd be like, hey, let's see if we can peel pouch it. So if the tray gets put up and they need it, it's in the peel pouch.
Grab that peel pouch.
Or, hey, if you don't need it, don't open it. Please. Because we have one.
I ain't trying to tell you how to do your job, but please.
I'm trying to find a solution. Because it's been times where people open a tray for one instrument, and I had that instrument peel pouch. If you would just ask me what you needed. So now you open a whole tray. The tray is unsterile. You need the tray for the next case. That's gonna be as a turnover. So if you didn't need the tray, you shouldn't open it. So I'm sorry, and when I say that, it's like well, why does it? We went over this again, ma'am. You know, and that's where the whole customer service
Right,
and
and one more
communications. But
time.
you ain't lying. Going down to the left, to the right, foot
And back
Yep.
around to the
you know, come back
and
around.
over here to get the
my watch.
product.
I got 20,000 still.
Yeah.
It's
And
tough, man.
you know those instrument baskets so well. You know people
Woo!
put the Adson tooth in the Adson Browns.
Right,
So you're
Yes,
gonna
yes.
check in that one too.
Needle holder box
You
and
know the
find
hooks.
everything.
You know the hooks with the right angles. Like
Woo!
you kind of know where people throw stuff just to throw things up. You know the cob elevators with the key elevators. You know, so
Yes.
yeah. So you
It's
kind
a
of have
I
to
know it's a Chuck key in this car box.
exactly somewhere.
I know what's there. I'm gonna find it. I know it's there.
There's one left there.
Man,
Yep.
shout out to the people that find everything that we can't locate, because
Yeah.
there are definitely those techs out there that you know that person that you go to like, okay, yeah, nobody can find it. Okay, let's ask
Yeah.
them.
And they walk right
And then
out
they
with
go,
it.
here you go.
Yep.
I didn't went through the sterile storage.
And when you're not looking for it, you find it on another day.
It.
You be like, wait a minute, was I looking for this? Don't worry about it.
SVD or Lord, or last one, when you find something you like, I know what tray this goes to. I'm about to put it right here because this gonna be coming back in 5. And here it goes.
I want to coin a phrase. I was just thinking of it when Tiffany was talking about inspections. If you and you also talking, Alessandra, about rushing for turnarounds. So there's something I want to coin, like it's called, like you can do a tray, but then you have something called a blurred inspection. You see the instrument, but it's so fast you might not catch everything.
Yes.
So yeah, you just definitely have to factor that, because I could be looking at 5 kerosenes and then it just looks like everything looks good until you pay attention and actually hold it and actually inspect one. Right. So then you definitely have to be aware of blurred inspections,
especially like stuff like that where there's so many various little things, like you said, right? Like this kerosene might not really be the same one.
Yeah. If you ever do a tray with like multiple of the same thing and closed it and put it on the rack, you're like, did I check all of them? I know I looked at the couple, but one of them looked a little fugly.
Ooh, I'm not about to say, I know this is a group that will definitely pop a kit and be like, oh yeah, okay, I had it.
That was in there. Or you were focused on a troublesome instrument and you forgot about your integrators. Excuse me.
See, that's
so. Let's say you're focused on your
how I put it together first, so make sure that I don't miss stuff like that. But dang,
so you're focused on your depth gauge. You forgot about something else. You know, like you focused on that what was that one, that 3-piece instrument, that drill guide. And then you forgot about something else, like something simple. So like sometimes I definitely have that issue where I know since it's small frag, I have to get those drill guides, make sure I go through them, and then I forget the depth gauge. I'm like, dang, the depth gauge. I gotta, check that.
Always check it.
Oh yeah. Oh, you know what I mean? So then you minimize the inspection on your other instruments, focusing on what you know is the culprit.
Complex stuff, yeah.
Right. So definitely have to factor that in too.
Yes, especially with those complex kits, because Lord knows those trauma trays will take you down a rabbit hole. Like everything is cannulated.
Yeah, that might go to decon 2-3 times before it comes back. The way it's supposed to. The first shift might get it and might still be on that little merry-go-round. Yeah, I found another thing. Yeah, I found another one. Yeah, I found another one.
You can't. Okay. Been there, done that, huh?
But I'm actually glad what you said, because a lot of times also when people are assembling trays, they forget to actually take it apart in decon. And when I take it apart to like lubricate it, not even like look for any bioburden, and I see a whole bunch of stuff up in there, I'd be like, oh no. Cysto trays, still attached, parts still attached. I'm like, you can take it back, because that goes to show me that they didn't take it apart, and it is with the flow of all the case cards coming in. Okay, we got to get it in the washer. And for those watching, a washer does not clean everything, please. Okay, I just wanted to just make that point.
Please do your
So bad.
manual cleaning.
I'm glad to hear somebody else say that, because I've been
Please,
preaching that for the longest time. Like,
Flushers and Sonics, we're not gonna do it for
please.
you.
yes,
Okay, it
guys.
doesn't
Oh my
substitute
god.
mechanical cleaning, manual cleaning. It doesn't
Yes, no
substitute it
substitute.
because it be stuff stuck on there doing the crip dance, all type of stuff. Okay, please.
No.
So the
Mhm.
quality of your tray shows the person in the love and decon, and that's often overlooked because when you start opening rongeurs and you start opening
Man.
instruments that take apart just to lubricate, you be finding little brown stuff, little tendons, little bone,
It
Mhm.
happens.
and I'd be like, and nah, you can just take it apart. And I
It
said, leave it like
happens.
this and process it, but leave it open.
Leave it
So when I
open.
tell them, well, how did you take it apart? And that is real quick. And
Mhm.
they'd be like, well, how did you know that? I'm like, well, the IFU says such and such. So that's when we get into the
The
groove of
aiming.
education because they never
Right.
knew it came apart.
Didn't know.
They never know.
Didn't know. Man,
You
and
know?
something you said earlier about your quality shows your character. I think
Yes.
that that's really important because, I mean, we all make mistakes. I'm not saying if you make a
Yes.
mistake on a trade that, you suck as a person or something like that. But your overall quality does speak to your character because this is talking about the every little decision that you make throughout the day when nobody's watching you and nobody's
Yes.
telling you what to do. And this is the quality of what you're putting out, and that matters. People, there's definitely techs that have reputations of, oh, we want their trays because we know every time we open this kit, it is flawless. And I think that's something that people need to reach for. You might fall down every once in a while. You might forget a lock. Been there. Might
Everyone
forget an
has.
indicator. Been there. Hell, you might miss some bioburden. It happens.
It
But it's
happens.
the difference is this a regular occurrence for you?
Well,
Or,
I'm actually glad you said that. What I do is, for instance, here's what I do, and this is just a suggestion. If a tray is missing an instrument, I call the clinician. Hey, we're missing this. This is on back order. This is a critical item.
oh,
And
yes.
some people be like, well, you ain't got to do all that. Well, here's the thing. I don't want a tray that's sterile to come back because it's missing a Jamison supercut scissor. And
Man,
you could have
I'm going to
been,
take it a step further. I
I'm going to go
don't,
forward and say,
you know what I
hey,
mean? Like,
before
I
I
don't
send you
want the tray
this,
to go up and then you open it and find out you can't even use it because the one
exactly.
thing that you needed is not here.
And it doesn't hurt because no one told me, okay, I don't have to call a clinician. I'm just calling the clinician to cover myself, plus to keep the flow going because
Oh,
there's no delays. Hey, listen, can I put this tray up? Do you need this? Can I substitute this? What do you need me to do to
yeah.
make everything go well? And I felt like now by me calling the clinician, now to the point where it's like, can I speak to Tiffany? Oh, well, I'm here. No, I want to speak to Tiffany. I need to speak to
Yeah,
her
right. That's what I'm
because
saying.
she
That
speaks to
will
me more than you. And that's
exactly.
just it's like a natural thing for me.
And
And
now
then
they know
now,
if I want quality, I need to call Tiffany.
right. And I feel as if we need to bridge that gap between the OR and central because most of the time it's like, okay, central against OR, but we have to cross paths and work together.
Literally.
It's
Can't
kind
do
of like
my
it's kind of
job
like a
without you.
magnet.
You can't do your job without me. I can make your day better. You can make my day better. Like it's not just on us. Scrub techs can do things to make it easier on SPD techs. They can,
Yes.
pay attention to their point of views cleaning. They can remove all their soft goods. They can take their needles and sutures out,
Can you
right?
soak your
And
instruments
oh
in
my,
saline though?
please, baby, please, wipe them things down and soak them in that water, not sterile or not saline,
Mhm.
and so we can all help each other. I think that is such
Yes.
an important thing. Man, we've reached an hour, but I do want to ask one more question, because we talked about how you got into the field, talked about
Yes.
what you've been doing currently, but I'm curious for our listeners, what's the future look like for Tiffany? What's on your plate right now?
I think once I get my CHL, I'm looking into being an educator and preceptor. I really feel that a lot of times you need that good educator that's under, a director that would help guide the actual whole department and even the ORs too. I feel like I want to extend into the OR and, see the struggles in the OR that can make us understand the whole
Yes.
process better as a whole unit, not just central and then the OR. And I think I see myself progressing and, going back to school for nursing and really see myself being, more involved in the whole aspect as a whole and not just central.
Definitely.
Very nice. Very nice. Lofty goals. I like that. I like that. I like that. I like that. So just a little thank you for coming on. And I just want to say just a little, I want to give a little note to those persons watching the show now. Like, I believe we'd be do a better job if there's a saying that goes, practice what you preach. So I think a lot of people in sterile processing hide behind that practice what you preach thing. And I think we need to preach what we practice. I think a lot of people will get called to the floor if they actually say what they actually do, especially when management is not around. So preach what you practice, and then you'll get a correction if need be. So guys, just put that in your motto, put that in your daily saying. You definitely gotta preach what you practice. If you keep taking those brushes out on the clean side, let somebody know. Don't just say, yeah, no, we don't do it. No, you do it, and then you'll get the explanation as to why you shouldn't be doing it. So preach what you practice, and then I think the department will end up on a better footing.
I agree 100%. And I think also want to echo something Tiffany said earlier, which is just being solution driven, because there has to be a way, right? We get these things done. There has to be a way. And oftentimes, I think, especially when we're talking about bad practice, SPD techs can just kind of be like, oh, well, that's what we had to do. Or, that's the way we've been doing it. Or, all these things that we hear. And it's like, that's not good enough. That's not good enough. There's no justification for putting somebody in harm's way. And make no mistake, that's exactly what you just did. You put somebody in harm's way, and we get the benefit of the fact that tray is going to go so far away from us before anybody finds that there's a problem. Sometimes you have problems with trays in the OR, and the SPD tech never even gets to hear about it. So we have to take that. You have to make it personal about your quality. Nobody is going to force you to be a high quality tech. It's impossible. I can't watch you every minute of every day.
Yes.
And you don't want me to, because then that'll be the next thing that you're complaining about is, oh, they're micromanaging us. I say it's a sign of your quality. Leaders are not going to micromanage folks that they don't have to.
Yes.
True. So true. So true.
Yes, that's so true. I really feel like being a leader is natural, not given. Yeah. Because you don't need no one to tell you to take the reins and go forward. Absolutely. And I feel as if, it's always like a title, like, well, I'm a lead, or I'm a manager, I'm a this and that, but yet you're not the first partaker to try and help or rectify a situation or help the department. And then the people who go above and beyond, who have those leadership skills and don't care about the title and just getting the job done and doing it with a caring heart and understand, it's natural to where you could tell they want to go above and beyond. And like you said before, you don't want to skip and mess up on a tray. You won't want to go and miss an integrator or a lock or a filter. So you're going to go and triple, quadruple check to make sure, hey, did I cover all the bases? Hey, let me help this person. So that's leadership skills and hard skills that wasn't taught. It was just manifested and it just happened. Yes. And I just think that's just something that I have, and I just go forward with it.
100%.
Yeah, they say leaders are born, managers are created.
There you go. So, and thank God for it, because we are, you, like you said, it's an individual as well as a community experience. So it's for the best that we continue to find these leaders, that we continue to tell people that that's what they are. Like maybe somebody might be watching this and finding out today that, you don't have to be a lead in order to be a leader. In your department. I mean, look at what Tiffany has done with her career so far, and this, and really in a lot of ways just getting started.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Tiffany, for coming on the show.
Thank you so much, Tiffany. Great show, and we'll definitely have you back again for another segment on the process. And then we have some big things coming up.
Yes.
So guys, stay tuned. Tiffany has some big things coming up. Alessandra has some big stuff. And before you go, you sound a little different. Where are you from?
Me, I was born in Nassau, Bahamas, but I'm currently in Miami, Florida.
Woo! Big up
Nassau.
my Bahamian, how you say it? Bahamian. How you say it, Tiffany?
What you trying to say?
If you're from the Bahamas, what are you? Bahamian? What are you?
Oh Lord.
Bahamian.
Bahamian, right. Bahamian, right. Shout out to all my Bahamian folks, all my Caribbean people, Sakpase, all my Haitians, and guys, thank you for tuning in. And guys, peace. We'll see you on the next show.
Peace.